So, hello students, welcome in the last lecture of this chapter. And today we will discuss about some numerical concept and some revisionary concept of the same chapter. We'll try to conclude whatever the numerical I can attempt in this lecture. And numerical I will actually choose it from the NCERT exercise and some numerical which is asked by some of the students. For example, this question asked by one of the students, we'll try to attempt that also. The one also question was there in the comment box. So we'll try to attempt that question also, how to differentiate between HCP and CCP. Basically, there is not a large difference. So we'll try to attempt that question also. And before starting the question, the numerical concept, let revision some of the important topic of the same chapter. First thing, from the whole chapter you have to be learn the thing which is the different types of cubic unit cell, and we know different types of cubic unit cell: SCC, BCC, FCC and ECC, and centered unit cell, face centered cubic unit cell, body centered cubic unit cell, and simple cubic unit cell. You have to learn the packing fraction, Z value, coordination number, and lattice points from where the number of particles occupied the different positions. All these details you have to be learned from the given topic. So whenever this topic arises in front of you, you have to be prepared, you have to be ready with these informations. If someone asks you what is the number of lattice point, what is the number of lattice site from this FCC, you have to be number of particle from the corners, 8 corners, 6 face, 8 plus 6, 14. What is the number of particle per unit cell, that is called Z. So you have to be corner participation value is 1 by 8 into 8, 1, then 1 by 2 in a face center and into 6 equal to 3. So number of particles per unit cell, that is a 4. What is the packing fraction? You have to calculate the packing fraction by using the formula, the relation between A and R, which is provided in the different lectures. You have to be revised from there. So students, before discussing all these things, you have to be revised once all the pages you have wrote it down, because when we going for the numerical concept, you have to be prepared with the different theoretical concept. Without knowing the theoretical concept, it is not easy to attempt any of the numerical concept from the chapter. So try to be attend different theoretical concept. Try to revise today and tomorrow, the Saturday and Sunday. We'll try to be conclude the whole chapter, because from Monday we'll start the solution chapter. From Monday we'll start the solution chapter, one of the most important chapter we have in physical chemistry, having a weightage of 6 marks, 5 to 6 marks weightage, with a full of numerical and theoretical concept and a new journey of the physical chemistry. So students, before going through the next chapter, you have to be conclude the whole chapter of solid state in this Saturday and Sunday within the 2 days. We'll try to attempt some numericals from the NCERT exercise today only. So this lecture will going to be some extended timing. Will take to 40 to 45, 50 minutes lecture. So can attempt at least some of the important questions. The packing is the one of the most important concept of the chapter. Packing. One dimensional, two dimensional is okay, fine. But packing in 3 dimensional is very important. The packing of the particle is the perpendicular alignment. Always give us SCC. पैकिंग ऑफ द पार्टिकल्स इन अ परपेंडिकुलर अलाइनमेंट, मतलब एक पार्टिकल रखा, उसके ऊपर ठीक उसके ऊपर दूसरा पार्टिकल रखा, और जो 2 डायमेंशनल है, पार्टिकल के जस्ट नीचे परपेंडिकुलर अलाइनमेंट होता है पार्टिकल का, ठीक है, पार्टिकल के नीचे, सो दैट इज कॉल्ड परपेंडिकुलर अलाइनमेंट. दैट इज गिव यू SCC, a simple cubic unit cell with a coordination number. You are knowing about that. But when we are going for the hexagonal closed packing in 3 dimensional, mean the next row particle always tilted, always shifted from the perpendicular alignment and take a place, white place between two different particles that give you a shape of different hexagonal in a two-dimensional. When we are talking about the three-dimensional packing, the three-dimensional packing means the next layer placed over one layer, placed over a layer, we always taking a place where the particle actually occupied, particle actually taking a place. Actually, next layer, we always be in a mind, whenever there is a three-dimensional layer placing over each other, they are always taking a different positions actually. Particles from the first layer to second layer to third layer to fourth layer, it's very important. No matter how you are placing the particle, the fourth layer always will be the like a first layer, always. We can differentiate between only first, second and third layer. From, you can start from any layer, you can be differentiate the particle from the only first layer, second layer and third layer. If the first layer particle is similar like a third layer particle, if the first layer particle is similar like a third layer particle, because second layer always will be different. Second layer always will be different. How? Because the second layer, when we taking the particles, see, when we taking the particle, the second layer always take a position of the wide left in the first layer. The second layer take the position. So second layer always, the second layer particle always will be different from the first layer. That is very confirm, very easy to learn. Okay, fine. But what about the third layer? What about the third layer? Because it is not easy to make here, draw here over the board how to take examples of the third layer. But if you are knowing the first layer and second layer will be different, that difference is only in the third layer. Either third layer will be directly placed over like a first layer, third layer placed over the first layer particles, that will give you AB crystal. Because first layer and second layer always will be different, third layer is similar like a first, the alignment of the third layer is always similar like a first, so that will give you SCP in three-dimensional. That will give you SCP in three-dimensional. What was provided in the lecture, previous lecture, in packing lecture. And next thing is, if the third layer particle again take a position from the wide left in a second layer, learn this. If the third layer particle take a position from the wide left in a second layer, so third layer and first layer must be different. So that is called, the third layer is also different, ABC, but first layer always will be a similar like a fourth one. That is the difference. You have to be, this is not the part of imagination. Okay, fine, imagination is any other thing, because that can be seen by the in a three-dimensionally. But the thing is, if the first layer is similar to the third layer, that is SCP in three-dimensional, is if the first layer is similar like a fourth layer, the first three layers are different, that will give you a CCP, cubic close packing. Cubic close packing. Because the particles, there is a possibilities where the particles can be aligned, can be placed. If the particle placed and take a position of white from the first layer, that will be second. If the particle take a position of the white left in a second layer, that will give CCP. But if the particle take a position perpendicular alignment of the first layer, that will give you HCP. That is the only difference. Another thing, you can see the diagram from the three-dimensional diagrams. Next thing, when we discuss about the imperfection, one of the important topic we are having, stoichiometric imperfection, non-stoichiometric imperfection, impurity defect. So when we discuss about these type of things, imperfections, we have to be focused on the how they can be shown in the diagrams, because the diagrammatic representation is the only taking the examples in the boards and the competitions. How we learn the diagrammatically the stoichiometric. So we are taking the example of Schottky and Frankel defect. You have to learn the examples also, provided examples. Alkali halides, the higher coordination number, the higher coordination number, the alkali halides generally having a Schottky defect, the cationic anionic both will be vacant with a equal ratio. In a single line, Schottky, Frankel, lower coordination number, there is a large difference of anion and cation size. Anion is a large, cation is a smaller. So generally cations missed from their place and take a position of interstitial site called a Frankel. Smaller cation take a position of white. That is called dislocation. That is the difference of Schottky and Frankel. Diagrammatically, we can learn in Schottky the whole crystal there must be a missing places, vacancies in the crystal. You can see the vacancy with equal ratio. Cation and anion both will be vacant from the place. No dislocation, no interstitial site will be occupied by any other particle. There is only vacancy. There is only vacancy in Schottky. But if the same crystal of NaCl, the alkali halide crystal, having vacancy as well as vacancy trapped by electron, that is called a non-stoichiometric metal access defect due to anionic vacancy. That is diagrammatical representation. That is also given in the different lectures provided earlier provided. Zinc sulfide, ferrous sulfide, nickel oxide, they all are having a stoichiometric as well as non-stoichiometric. The diagram only can indicate you what is the difference. The diagram. In a Frankel, there is a cationic vacancy with a dislocation of cation in the interstitial site. But in a zinc oxide, the non-stoichiometric, the metal always take a position of interstitial site with an electron in a neighboring site. That is the difference. If the cation placed dislocated from the original position and take an interstitial position, that is Frankel. Cation dislocated from the original position to take an interstitial position, that is Frankel. But if the cation dislocated from the original position and electron also trapped in the interstitial position, that is called non-stoichiometric metal access defect. That is again the same thing. There is only difference of electron. Same way, if the any impurities occupied in the crystal, it can be seen easily, na? Impurity occupied in the crystal, the whole crystal is of NaCl, but there is somewhere some strontium, some barium is occupied. So that is called, okay fine, that is impurity defect, because how we can imagine, if the crystal is NaCl, crystal is of NaCl, so how strontium is occupied? It's meaning there is an impurity. And now I am attempting the question from that impurity. It is very easy. Look here. KBr, K plus potassium having 1 positive and strontium having a 2 positive or barium having a 2 positive. The common thing is whenever the imperfections are seen in the crystal, they are always electrically neutral. Electrical charge balance should be maintained. So there is no disturbance of charge. Solids should be neutral. There is main difference of the cations, anion, vacancy, interstitial position, fine. But charge should be maintained. It's mean if one strontium occupied in the crystal, one strontium occupied in the crystal or one barium occupied in the crystal must be vacant by 2 potassium, because 2 potassium equal to 1 strontium. In a crystal there should be a 2 vacant place left, 2 vacant place of potassium. If the crystal is a KCl, if the crystal of KCl or an NaCl, the potassium or Na sodium having a 1 positive charge, strontium and barium having 2 positive charge. So 2 cation of K plus or Na plus is equal to the 1 strontium. 2 vacancy will be there, and the same time one vacancy, the 1 vacant place is occupied by the strontium. So what you can observe in the crystal? In a crystal, you can see 1 cation place is occupied by strontium or barium and 1 cationic place should be vacant. 1 cationic place should be vacant. So whenever बाइवैलेंट मतलब कि जिसकी वैलेंसी 2 होती है, बाइवैलेंट कैटायन added doped as an impurity, there is only 1 cationic holes or vacant place can be seen in the crystal. One time at a time, only 1 vacancy. So 1 strontium, so whatever the number of strontium will be added, same number of cationic vacancy will be created. That is the thing only. Whatever the number of strontium or barium should be added, same number of cationic vacancies can be created, should be created in the crystal. So what is the value? KBr is doped with 10 to the power minus 5 mole percentage of strontium bromide. The number of cationic vacancy in 1 gram of KBr is. So let's solve this question. Let's solve this question. KBr is doped with 10 to the power minus 5 mole percentage. Now, KBr is doped with 10 to the power minus 5 mole percentage. So, what is the value of KBr? What is the value of KBr? Sorry, SRBr2. The doping SRBr2, we are solving SRBr2 in 1 mole KBr. That will be 1 mole KBr equal to 10 to the power minus 5 mole percentage upon 100. Percentage means upon 100. And that is actually mole. Mole means 6.022 10 to the power 23. That is the value. That much is the value of strontium ion which is doped in KBr ion, and that will give you a value of 10 to the power minus, that will be 10 to the power minus 7. 100 will be up, then 10 to the power minus 7, and 10 to the power minus 7 will reduce, so value will be like 6.022 10 to the power 23 minus 7, so will give you 10 to the power 16 per mole of KBr. So 1 mole of KBr actually having this much amount of strontium bromide as a impurity, and what I said earlier, the number of cationic holes always equal to the number of strontium ion added, because strontium has 2 positive, potassium has 1 positive. So whatever the number of strontium will be added, same number of cationic holes will be generated. Number of cationic holes, number of cationic holes equal to the same value, that is indicated per mole. That is the value of per mole. Per mole किसका? Per mole KBr 6.022 10 to the power 23. So number of cationic holes will be always the same. But what they asked? They asked about what is the number of cationic holes or vacancy in 1 gram. That much is in a 1 mole of KBr now. So what is the value of 1 gram? So in 1 gram, therefore, in 1 gram, the same value will be 6.022 10 to the power 23 नहीं, 10 to the power 16 10 to the power 16 upon the molar mass of KBr. Molar mass of KBr. So molar mass of KBr, you can see potassium having 39.1 unit in a gram, that will be 39.1 gram. Bromine 79.9 unit means that it will be in gram value. The value will be in the same. So molar mass of KBr will be the sum of these two value. I think that will give you 79.9 and 0.1 at T. At T plus 39, 119 gram. So if you will divide by 1 mole, the mass of 1 mole of the same number of value, that will give you a vacancy in a 1 gram. And if you solve this, I think that will give you a 6.022 divided by 119. I don't know what will be the value. I think that will be in 2 to the power 16 with some numerical value. If you take this 6 and this will be 119, suppose approximately value will become now 6 upon 119. So solve this. What will be the value? 6 1 ja 6, 5 59. I think 6 8 ja 48 now, and 6 what is 59? Sorry, 59. So then 6 8 ja 6, 9 ja 54, and 6 10 ja. I think this is about what do you think? Solve this value. I'm solving, okay? That will come actually 0 point. If you solve 119 divided by 6, .05, that will be the value, and you can write as 5 into 10 to the power 14. So answer of vacancy, cationic vacancy in 1 gram of KBr is 5 into, the approximate value is 5 into 10 to the power 14. 5 into 10 to the power 14, that is much. So that the concept is how we solve actually. The concept is you have to learn the valency. If KBr is added with strontium bromide, then the number of vacancy will be equal to the number of impurities added, number of impurity doped. But if the valency is 3, then so you have to learn one cation. If the valency is 3, then one cation actually leave the position of 3 different cations. So if there is instead of strontium, if the question was like you have to learn this, the question was like KBr doped with gallium chloride. Gallium is having actually valency 3. So 1 gallium equal to 3 potassium, and therefore 3 cationic holes generated. On addition of 1 gallium, 3 cationic holes generated, in which 1 cationic holes occupied by gallium and 2 cationic holes left in the crystal. So you can see 2 cationic holes. So if the valency is 3, the number of impurity added is actually the double of, number of cationic holes generated is the double of impurities added. Means in the same question, if there was gallium bromide or gallium chloride, the value number of cationic holes must be 2 into this value, because there is a 2 cationic holes left. That is the concept you have to learn. So we will dealing with one of the numerical concept of the imperfection based impurity defect. Same time, I would like to revise the one of the important concept of this topic, that is a semiconductor. Doping always generated some kind of semiconductor. If there is any increment or decrement of electron because of the doping of any atom from the outside or the element from the outside, they are always responsible for the semiconduction. they always responsible for the semiconduction, because semiconduction means the already the crystal, the initial crystal is having a some small gap of the small energy gap of conducting band and that valency band. If there is small gap of energy between conducting band and energy band, so whenever we are doping the material, doping the crystal by some other material, they may arise some of the free electrons or positive holes, which is responsible for the conduction in the solid crystal. So students, you have to be learn the semiconductor is actually the one of the important concept in which this conducting band and valency band must be a difference, must be a small difference of energy. So electron can be easily jump by increasing the temperature, by providing the free electron, by providing the positive holes. How we come to know that there will be free electron will be there? The free electron is actually based on if the higher valency doped in the lower valency. So see this example. Suppose the KBr doped with this strontium bromide. So what will happen? This is a ionic crystal now. This is ionic crystal. So you can see whenever strontium bromide added in the KBr crystal, is strontium bromide added, so actually there is a cationic holes generated, the positive holes generated. But in the same time, the KBr, the crystal was is like actually any semiconductor, any metallite like a silicon or germanium. So we'll take what number of electron will involve in the covalent bond, and what electron remain left as a free electron. We always learn there is a cationic holes now, because that is a KBr crystal. So extra electron will not be generated. Even strontium has higher valency than a potassium, but due to the addition of strontium bromide, there is positive holes generated. Positive holes generated means they always means p-type semiconduction. P-type semiconduction. Because on addition of strontium there is positive holes generated, so they will give a p-type semiconduction. That is the concept. If any crystal having a positive holes, they can be behave like a p-type. If any crystal having a free electron, they can be known as a n-type, negative type, because there is a free electrons. That is the concept. Now I am going to attend some of the numerical portion of your NCERT book. One by one I am having a book. NCERT exercise. The first question is define the terms amorphous. Give a few examples of amorphous solids. So you are knowing that amorphous means, the term amorphous means there is a irregular arrangement of the particles. Amorphous, actually that is meaning actually a pseudo solid, false solid. The one question is there. Third question, classify each of the following solid as ionic, metallic, molecular, network, or amorphous. Tetraphosphorus dioxide, P4O10. So P4O10 is actually a molecular solid, because the phosphorus pentoxide or phosphorus tetroxide, you can see the whole molecule actually arranged in a crystal. So there is ammonium phosphate, lithium bromide is ionic. Metallic means brass and rubidium. Rubidium is a, you are knowing that rubidium is an alkaline metal, and brass is a alloy, metallic alloy. Network solid, silicon carbide, graphite and silicon. Amorphous, plastic is amorphous. So this is the example. Iodine and phosphorus is a molecular solid. What is the mean by term coordination number? What is the coordination number of atoms? If the atoms in a cubic closed packing structure, cubic closed packing means CCP, the coordination number is always 12. In HCP and CCP, coordination number is already 12. Is 12, already taught you. In a body centered cubic structure, BCC, I told about, if the particle in a BCC, body center, the 8 corner particle attached with the center particle, so coordination number will be 8. Some of the question is here on the basis of density. Stability of a crystal is reflected. One of the question is there. Stability of a crystal is reflected in the magnitude of its melting points. Comment. Collect melting point of solid water, ethyl alcohol, diethyl ether and methane from a data book. What can you say about the intermolecular force between these molecules? It is very easy to learn actually, students. If the melting point is very high, if the melting point is high, there is must be a strong force of attraction you knowing about. As water having a melting point must be greater than alcohols, so water must be a more stronger, more having a stronger lattice than alcohols, ether. So when you collect the melting point from the data book, you must be seeing the solid water means ice having melting point you knowing about 273.15 Kelvin is the exact value of 0 degrees Celsius. So solid water must having a more stronger lattice than water that ethyl ether than alcohols. So you can collect from the data book what is the actual melting point of these things, these materials. How many lattice points are there in one unit cell of each of the following lattice? Face-centered, cubic, face-centered, tetragonal, body-centered. Face-centered cubic, okay, fine. So FCC. So we are knowing that now in FCC there is a number of lattice point is 14, okay, fine. Face-centered tetragonal. Face-centered tetragonal does not usually exist in crystals. So this is not a common crystal, so we are not knowing about that. Body-centered, 8 corners plus 1 body, 9. Calculate the efficiency. So efficiency actually in the packing fraction, depending upon the packing fraction you are knowing, the FCC has the most efficiency. Then you can solve the density numerical. I am attempting one of the important numerical from there. I am attempting one of the numerical, question number 16. We'll solve the question number 16, okay? That is one of the important question we are having. One of the important question we are having. The question is, analysis so that the nickel oxide has the formula of nickel 0.98, oxygen 1. That is the question first. See question. Nickel 0.98, oxygen 1.00. What fraction of nickel exists as nickel plus 2 and nickel plus 3 ions? What fraction of nickel plus 2 and nickel plus 3 ions are exist? Nickel plus 2 and nickel plus 3. This is one of the important question from the exercise and interesting also. Let's solve this question. This is from the formula you can see there is a metal deficiency now. Metal deficiency. Non-stoichiometric metal deficiency defect. Nickel having a plus 2 as well as plus 3. Nickel having a plus 2 and plus 3. Metal deficiency defect. So if nickel plus 2 exists in the number of x, let us assume nickel plus 2 is a number of x. So nickel plus 3 must be 0.98 minus x. Because total number of nickel is 0.98 only now. That is the ratio. That is the ratio. So you can solve this. Nickel plus 2 x. So nickel plus 3 will be 0.98 minus x. The whole crystal, what I told earlier, the whole solid should be maintain the electrical neutrality. That's why the charge of nickel and oxygen, the sum of the charge of nickel and oxygen should be a 0. What is the charge of x? The charge is 2 into x, means 2x, and the charge of this value is 3. What is the charge of oxygen? -2 and equal to 0. So we are having a equation charge of nickel plus 2, that is x, plus 2x. Charge of nickel plus 3 is 3. And what is the value of nickel plus 3? 0.98 minus x. So that will be into 3. And then -2 is the charge of oxygen, because that is a full unit number. So we are taking here -2 only. And the whole value is a 0. So how we solve? The solve value is 2x. The solve value is 2x and multiply by 3. Then solve is 3 is 24. 4 2 20, I think 3 9 is 27 now. 29. 2.94 minus 3x minus 2 equal to 0. Minus 3x 2x, there will be a minus x. And 2.94 minus 2, that will be a 0.94. Minus x equal to 0. Therefore x equal to 0.94. The value of x equal to is 0.94. That is the numerical value of x, means nickel plus 2. So what is the fraction? What is the percentage of nickel plus 2? The percentage value of nickel plus 2 is 0.94 out of 0.98 into 100. You have to solve this. You will solve this and answer. Comment me the answer in the comment box. The percentage of nickel plus 2 will be 0.94, the value out of 0.98, the whole value into 100. That will be give you a percentage, the fraction percentage of nickel plus 2. Nickel plus 3 will be 100 minus this value. 100 minus this value. So the whole value will be, can be coming out. So comment me the answer of this nickel plus 2 and nickel plus 3. That is one of the question we are having. Non-stoichiometric, one of the question from NCERT exercise 1.18. Non-stoichiometric cuprous oxide Cu2O can be prepared in the laboratory. In this oxide, copper to oxygen ratio is slightly less than 2:1. Can you account for the fact that this substance is a p-type semiconductor? p-type semiconductor. So ratio is slightly less than 2:1. Non stoichiometric है ना, तो ratio is 2:1 है. Then so they are asking about can you account for the p-type semiconductor? So I already told you, in laboratory Cu2O, cuprous oxide, oxygen doesn't show the variable valency, but copper having a valency copper plus 1, copper plus 2. Copper plus 1, copper plus 2. This is the same as like KBr and SrBr2. If this is non-stoichiometric, so some of the copper plus 1 is occupied by some of the copper plus 2. But you knowing that the solid crystal should be electrically neutral, maintain the balance of charge. So copper plus 2 must be equal to the 2 copper plus 1. The cuprous ion equal to the copper cupric ion, but 2 cuprous ion, the cation vacancy will be a 2. So one of the cationic vacancy occupied by cupric ion, one of the cationic vacancy occupied by cupric ion. So whenever there is the cationic vacancy occupied by cupric, one cuprous cationic vacancy will be left and seen in the crystal. So the important thing is the cuprous ion means there is a positive cationic holes. So solid crystal can behave like a p-type semiconductor because there is a cationic holes generated due to the exceed of valency of copper as +2. So copper +2, whenever there is change in valency, always cationic holes generated. And this is same as like when strontium bromide added in the KBr. So due to the variable valency of copper +1 and +2, cationic holes generated, which is responsible for p-type semiconductor. So the question was, can you account for the fact that this substance is a p-type semiconductor? Yes, this substance is p-type semiconductor because due to the cupric ion, one of the cuprous ion holds the positive holes generated, which is responsible for p-type semiconductor. One question is there. Ferric oxide crystallizes in a hexagonal closed packing SCP array of oxide ions with 2 out of every 3 octahedral holes occupied by ferric ions. Derive the formula of the ferric oxide. So you can you can take a formula. Oxide make a hexagonal closed packing, and ferric ion take a position of two out of every 3 means 2/3 of octahedral holes. I already explained in any solid, in any crystal, if the number of anion is n, so octahedral voids also will be n. Octahedral voids also will be n. So suppose the ferric oxide minus 2, O minus 2, having a particle n, so octahedral voids also will be n, but the ferric ion, Fe plus 3, take a position of 2/3, 2 out of 3. So 2/3 of the octahedral voids. The formula will be the ratio equals, solve it, n will be cancelled out, and then the formula will be Fe2O3. When we solve the ratio, when we simplify the ratio, 2/3 will be multiplied by, that is 1 into 3 into 3 will be cancelled out, so ferric will be 2 and oxide will be 3. So formula will be 2/3. So Fe2O3 will be the formula. Classify each of the following as being either an p-type or an n-type semiconductor. Next question. Germanium doped with indium. Germanium belonging from the 14th group. Carbon, silicon, germanium doped with indium, 13th group. Lower valency doped in higher valency, always p-type. What I recalled in the last lecture, whenever lower valency doped in higher valency, they will give a p-type. Boron doped with silicon. Higher valency and lower valency, they will give a n-type. So boron doped in silicon, they always show silicon, higher valency now. Boron doped with silicon, higher valency doped in boron. Boron belonging from the 13th group, silicon belonging from the 14th group. So they will give a n-type semiconductor. Gold having atomic radius, crystallizes in FCC centered units. What is the length of a side of the cell? You are knowing face centered, we are already evaluated the relation between A and R. So you can solve the face centered formula. What is the relation between A and R? Face centered, 2 root 2 R equal to 4, 2 root 2 A equal to 4R. So you can solve the formula. There is atomic radius given in nanometer. You can solve the length of the side cell, means A's length, with the help of the relation between A and R formula. In the terms of band theory, what is the difference between a conductor and an insulator? In a conductor, there is no any difference of energy between conducting band and valency band. There is sometimes overlapping between them, sometimes free infilled orbitals, but in the insulator there is a forbidden zone between conducting band and the insulating the valency band. Forbidden zone, large energy gap between them. Between a conductor and a semiconductor, the same thing. Semiconductor, there is a small gap of energy between them. Explain the following terms with a suitable example. Schottky, Frenkel defect, interstitial defect, Yap-center. So this is very easy, no? Yap-center means some electron from the metal cations trapped in the anionic vacancy in non-stoichiometric metal excess defect. Frenkel, dislocation of the smaller cation from the original position to the interstitial position. Interstitial defect, the dislocation of the particle from the original position to the white place. So this is all about your question. Last 25 question, second last question is, if NaCl is doped with 10 to the power minus 3 mole percentage of SrCl2, the same question is there, mole percentage. So 10 to the power minus 3 upon 100 will be 10 to the power minus 5. What is the concentration of cationic vacancy? This is very easy. The number of particles doped will be same equal to the number of cationic vacancy, because the strontium chloride having a divalent, sodium having a monovalent plus one valency. So number of particle of strontium doped will equal to the number of cationic vacancy. You can solve out, and also give me the answer in the comment box. If there is any problem regarding that, ask me in the same place. Last question, refer to the last lecture. So this is all about the NCERT exercise. You have to go through all the different lectures correctly and full lectures, and try to solve the different numerical based on this chapter from in-text, example, exercise from the other medium of online platform, and will provide one MCQ also in the next lecture. Will provide one MCQ, PDF MCQ. You'll go through all that also. Okay, bye.